Yurt was good. I am feeling a little hopeless today. And where better to find hope than Oliver Anthony and Jordan B. Peterson?
I've just felt so hopeless for the future for such a long time that, like, seeing people feel something that I haven't seen in a long time means a lot. It means a lot more to me than anything else, than the money.
The human stutter there, I think it's him trying to find the gears turning in his skull about accepting right-wing money in order to push a mild left-wing ideal, but then allow the fudge round bars into his music, all that jazz.
Money or whatever, you know.
What made you said that...
Oh my God. Jordan Peterson simultaneously looks like a therapist that you pay too much money for, while at the same time, Jordan Peterson looks like he's trying to be a member of the Kingsmen, bro. I don't know how to tell him. Also, why is this auto 360p?
The hopelessness, I think, comes from seeing us all, like, we find fault in each other instead of finding common ground in each other anymore.
The first thing I've heard Oliver Anthony say with, like, actual some level of clarity. It's just too bad that 2 seconds ago we were just talking to Jordan Peterson. If this answer wasn't towards Jordan, I'd be totally with it, bro.
To some degree, let's say with my friend Chris.
Jordan Peterson sounds like you're trying to strangle a Muppet real time.
How have you dealt with that to the degree that you have, and how have you dealt with that successfully?
I'm sorry, I can't get through a 3-minute video without pausing it a bajillion times just because Jordan Peterson's on camera. It is the most, like, jacking each other off I've ever seen so far.
And that's one of the verses in the popular song, is that it references young men committing suicide at this ridiculous rate they are today. Because
I'm not gonna let him answer that because he's correct so far. This is what conservatism is usually built upon. It is taking a truth and then changing why it's happening, distracting from the root cause, which good old Jordan over here is actually fantastic at when it comes in terms to global warming, because he's fantastic not in the sense that he's rebuttaling in a very accurate and strategic way. I mean, I guess it is strategic. I'll give him the fact that it's strategic. And there is something towards sobriety, obviously, in which I'm going to say while hitting my Puffco. There is something towards sobriety, I'm sure, that will lead to much more inner success, you know, and inner peace. And there is something maybe toward societally the fact that men are not allowed or are viewed as weak by people like Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder, when they go to turn to things for, like, help, or turn to people for things. And the people who they tend to turn to are people like Jordan Peterson, who are doing nothing but eating meat and crying over the state of man. And it's so fucking stupid to turn to people like that, because those people aren't in it for your health. They're in it for their stability.
Young men committing suicide at this ridiculous
Terrible thing.
rate they are today.
There's also, if we want to bring men back into this conversation, Jordan, a tremendous, in fact, exclusively, is it white men who are doing public school shootings and public terrorist events, typically in the United States. And in some cases, it's young white men who are not only praised for it in Rittenhouse. Rittenhouse has made a career off of the fact that he's done similar terrorist action. There are people who are mentally challenged and go through these dark crevices in the internet, crowded by people like Jordan on 4chan, and tend to believe that they don't believe that they're worth existing, or that gay and trans people aren't worth existing. Thus, they go and shoot up a nightclub. It's insanity. Like, a lot of what they bring to the table as far as verbiage is actually causing a lot of damage, not even necessarily stopping this damage, because maybe this individual is struggling with their self-identity, and when they listen to someone like you about how their self-identity should be wrapped in the 1930s idealistic man, when Jordan Peterson himself is far from the ideal man, you know, like Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson are some of the most effeminate looking queer-coded men I've seen in my fucking life, especially if you want to go to Steven, who is actively like cross-dressing. All these people are clearly struggling so much with their self-identity. Even if you want to go to Ben then and his current producer making that basketball movie, which I'll pull up quick. It's funny, Ben talked about how the premise of this movie, they tried to do it for real, but they couldn't because it's actually difficult to do what they're articulating in this movie as easy. I'm gonna let them cook for a minute.
With the most triggering comedy of the year.
If your tagline is the most triggering comedy of the year, bro, like, I think you're profiting more off of being canceled than people want to cancel you.
It's gonna be your pathway to a better life.
Well, like yours?
Please don't steal my catalytic converter again. Are you gonna move? I am not.
This is like the most like bad Hollywood movie shit I've seen in my life too. Also, double pull up a video on you right now. Fucking, they already did this in the early 2000s.
Can I please have your autograph? A stamp?
No, that shit goes hard. I need a stamp, bro.
Joanna Man.
Joanna Man? Joanna Man.
Joanna Man.
Yes, Joanna, man. Whatever. No one's gonna believe you're a woman.
And like the difference is that this movie, despite it being made fucking 9 years prior to Ladyballers, is probably like way more. Like, don't get me wrong, poorly rated, not a fantastic movie all said and done, but probably way more sensitive to the real thing than not.
You decided on dinner? Get me.
Stymie that. Country got you crazy.
But anyway, when you take like a 2008 movie with some context that this has already been done, and like also taking into account that like all these people are just like failed Hollywood actors just who could not do it. And like what's also crazy is like this is taking the assumption that like all of just an average dude who would be able to make it into a professional sports league, like women's sports league, like just a non-athletic general guy. Like this group of dudes, there's fucking zero shot, especially this dude.
You approached me and you said we should make a fictional film about this topic. Now, to be fair, I think I'd actually suggested to the Grain Boys that they do this as a doc.
Yes.
I originally went to them and I said, you guys should like go try out for a bunch of ladies' leagues, and that became not possible because, as it turns out, most ladies' leagues don't allow in actual men, and they weren't willing to go the full distance in
Really? Oh, really? Were they not?
terms of what it would require in order to, the actual hormone treatments and everything.
Oh, were they not willing to go through all the therapy sessions and the hormone treatments that it takes to actually do all the things that you're complaining about actively in sports to become a trans athlete?
Play in some of the ladies' leagues, but in any case, it turned into this. So explain.
Dumbass. Kind of my point in this whole thing is that none of you. I want every actor in this movie to play Brittany Griner one-on-one, and just watch them get swallowed up.
Again, through social media and sort of the parasitic way that it alters our thinking, like by just, we read every day things that just change our perception of each other. But we've gotten to a point where it's easier for us to try to find differences and faults in each other instead of similarities, which we all hold much more common ground than we do difference. You know, I mean,
Oliver Anthony just seems to me to be on a centrist run, you know? The song he blew up with was pretty centrist. All it really did on a left-leaning side was call out some level of capitalist manipulation, which has been called out in hip-hop music for the last 20 years. It's just a white dude with a guitar did it with the right-wing money, and people started caring. When you profit handsomely off both sides, you know, and you go like, hey, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's hard when you're making all this money and getting praised by the right wing to the point of being mentioned on the GOP stage. It's hard to still go like, hey, Vivek Ramaswamy, I am not a fan of yours. But then you simultaneously sit on the Daily Wire with Jordan Peterson, and it's like, well, bro, like, you're not, like, you're trying to be Daryl Davis right now. You know, he's trying to bridge a gap that otherwise is never going to be bridged by him.
Similar, and we all have to acquire some amount of money. Most of us have ambitions of raising a family, or at least developing friendships. Like, you know, I'd say 90% of the people that at least exist in North America are very similar in almost every way. But it's like we've somehow found the nitpick arbitrary differences that we hold, and we exploit those and blow those up. And so, yeah, it feels
I don't think it's nitpicks, dude. I mean, it depends on what you're talking about. He's being so fucking ambiguous because it's such a fucking ambiguous question, self-suck question from Jordan. To be like, oh, it's the way that we're all nitpicking each other on the internet, that's like devoid of reason and care. Like, I agree in some respects that the internet is a cesspool, but like, why are we, like, who doesn't know that? Who doesn't go to the internet knowing it's a cesspool? You should be caring more about real life conversation than internet conversation. Is if you want to find hope in the world, bro, like, fucking exist in it, bro. Stop fucking sitting on the internet like both of these fucking dungeon dwellers clearly
feels
do.
hopeless because we are more divided today than we've ever been.
Or like I do myself.
Like, everything's politicized. Everything is about one party or one person trying to hold some moral high ground over the other, just for the sake of being able to point your finger down at them, you know?
Not trying to, I'm actually, funny enough, you're way larger than me. Most people on the internet are pointing the finger up. Most people are on the internet because they don't feel heard, so they have to go to the internet to put their voice out there, and in some cases they will get heard by them in those instances and be put on the internet and blasted around if they get enough likes and stuff, and they'll feel very validated off of that opinion. I agree. But unfortunately, you go on fucking Twitter right now, a website that Elon Musk paid a premium for just to change the name of, but still can't get away from the verbiage tweet, because at the end of the day, it is the most valuable part of his platform. If you go on that platform, there's tremendous amounts of hate and tremendous amounts of garbage, quite frankly, being spewed by your opposite person, the person who you are standing across from on this interview, prospectively standing across from, because Lord knows it's done through the camera. Y'all are the problem. You understand what I'm saying? You, for being on the platform, platforming someone like Jordan and allowing him to kind of go like, hey, like, maybe we should all just stop fighting on the internet about like global warming or like the left and the right. At the end of the day, politics are opinion, right? Those terms are just umbrellas for people to fit under when it rains. You know, like a huge umbrella of topics that aren't even discussed in the United States. But if you go across seas, or if you go not even across seas, if you go up from our own continent and within our own continent to Canada, there's more socialist ideal than has ever existed in the United States without some level of Red Scare propaganda done by, again, someone your opposite right now. The reason why people are pointing the finger at you is because you don't really have a care or semblance for the way that you're coming off to one whole group of people who you otherwise felt like you were speaking to, and you doubled down on speaking to, because when you were in your car blowing up off of the thing and you saw Vivek Ramaswamy say your song was good, you know, and shout you out, you were like, oh, hold on, that's actually fucking trash. You know, and you understood that. You haven't understood it enough to stop going on the fucking Daily Wire.
And it's like, what the hell are we doing? Like, we've got to...
And I can't believe how much love and support he gets, quite frankly, from the left, is my confusion, just for calling out a capitalist movement in Richmond, Virginia, which I agree, or north of Richmond, and the coal mines and stuff that have shut down. Like, I agree. Jobs are being lost. There's automation is a bigger problem that hit the coal mines and is now hitting every other workplace, you know? Talk about that with Jordan. Don't talk about how there's hope in this hopeless world.
We have just an incredible opportunity to live in the place that we do.
Bro.
The fact that you and I can use free speech and free thought, because speech and thought are one and the same. Like, if people aren't able to have open,
look at Jordan like, yes, if I can't say trans people deserve to die, then what are we really saying?
Conversations with each other, they aren't able to conceptualize new ideas that takes us into a better place than...
Jordan is currently sitting in the architecture of the era he wishes to preside. It is giving such royal family vibes, it's kind of gross. I think Jordan's hands are swelling just from sitting in that chair.
See us all sort of being put into these categories and these political buckets, you know?
So you're a centrist, Oliver. Congrats, man. Like, you came out as a centrist. Congratulations. You should go on Andrew Yang's podcast, is what I've learned from all this. You should just start the Forward Party, bro. Make that the next, make the anthem of the Forward Party.